Hi everyone, welcome to the August 2018 edition of Farsight's Time Cross Project. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Courtney Brown, director of the Farsight Institute, and we have huge stuff for you today. As those of you who follow our Time Cross show know, we are wrapping up our predictive news series, which we have done since May of 2016, and it is time for a change, and starting two other series that we feel will be really exciting for our audience. The first is Backstory, and this is where we do remote viewing sessions on a major current or recent news story, but we give you the real behind-the-scenes scoop. Well, as you know, Presidents Trump and Putin met in Helsinki, Finland in July, and they had a long meeting in which no one else was in the room except for translators. Well, we sent two of our roving remote viewing reporters to witness the event, and they obtained psychological profiles of the presidential participants. You all heard me right. All done under totally blind conditions, just like all of our other work here at Farsight. It is coming up. Now, the second of our new series is Many Mysteries. Now, these are mysteries that are not quite big enough to warrant a major project taking a few months and thousands of dollars, as is the case with our major mysteries projects. But the many mysteries are still mysteries with great public interest. Well, last month we published one on Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, and today we are publishing a new mini-mysteries on what is known as the Dyatlov Pass incident, where 9 hikers in the Ural Mountains in the Soviet Union, now Russia, perished as a result of a seriously weird situation. The physical evidence of what happened to them is all over the board and totally confusing, and people have speculated everything under the sun. Well, we now believe that we know exactly what happened to them, and you're going to see and hear it in just a few minutes. But first, I want to make a special announcement regarding our ongoing cryptocurrency project. Now, this month, we will be publishing a free analysis of how we did in our first 3-month forecast for Bitcoin. Now, the forecast period is wrapping up this month in mid-August, and a summary analysis plus the original report will be free for all to see. And I think you will all be quite surprised at how well we did with this, so stay tuned. Also, we will be releasing our next 3-month forecast again for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is an interesting cryptocurrency. Some people think of it as a currency that is useful for parking wealth. Some even consider it a currency that will eventually hold generational wealth, something that people will give to their children and grandchildren. This is partially due to the fact that it is only possible to create a fixed number of bitcoins. So, currency inflation due to forever creating more and more less valuable coins is not possible. Something that is possible with normal currencies such as the dollar. Given how well we did with the first 3-month forecast, as you will soon see later in August, you will all want to follow our future forecasts, especially if you are an investor. And again, there are 2 audiences for these forecasts. During the forecast period, investors are primarily interested in these forecasts since they may want to use remote viewing data to help guide their buy and sell decisions. But after the forecast period is over, we will publish the original forecast plus a summary analysis for free, all on YouTube. So if you are not an investor or you are new to cryptocurrencies, simply wait until the forecast period is over and watch the free version while you learn. But if you are an investor who has a significant amount of money tied up in cryptocurrencies, you will probably want to watch the forecast during the forecast period. Wise investors study the markets and follow forecasts that have high accuracy histories. And of course, as always, our disclaimer. No one at Farsight is a licensed financial advisor. So anything that anyone at Farsight does that relates to using remote viewing to predict financial or economic outcomes of any type, including the selling prices of cryptocurrencies, is done for entertainment and educational purposes only. Everyone doing investments are doing so at their own risk. These are experiments in remote viewing, and there are no guarantees being made either explicit or implied. Nonetheless, these efforts are truly interesting on a grand scale, and we at Farsight believe that after we do this for a while, it will be hard for anyone to ignore the reality of remote viewing. Again, August 15th, a new 3-month forecast for Bitcoin, and an analysis of our last 3-month forecast. If you are investing, you gotta know. Now let's wrap up how well we did with our predictive news stories for June 2018 before moving on to the meeting between Presidents Trump and Putin, and then the mystery of the Dyatlov Pass incident. So that we have time for our 2 new series, I'm going to summarize June's time cross results quickly. The big super hit for the month of June was Princess Janae's report on a rocket launch that spectacularly failed. She described the audience watching the event, the nearby city, and the exact nature of how the rocket supposedly heading for space blew up and fell back to the ground. This story exactly matched the failed space rocket launch that happened in Japan on June 30th, the last day of the month. The entire thing was recorded live on video, including the reactions from the audience. And we have links to these news stories and videos in our news analysis table for the month of June that can be found on our website in the Time Cross area. Watching Princess's report recorded more than a month earlier and then watching the videos from the news reports can bring goosebumps. The match is so exact. And using our rating system, this report scores a 3 for both actual perceptions and the interpretations of those perceptions. In terms of other stories, Melina Hall had a report of a presidential assassination attempt in a hot urban environment. Now, in discussing this report last month, I clearly stated that this report would not involve President Trump or an incident in the United States, but I expected that it would occur somewhere in the world. Now, presidential assassination attempts are not common on a month-to-month basis, but her report closely matched what happened on the 23rd of June when there was an assassination attempt against the president of Zimbabwe, Emerson Mnangagwa, while the president was attending a campaign rally at White City Stadium in Bulawayo. Now, many were injured as a result of a bomb, and that report clearly rates a 3 in terms of perceptions and interpretations. Now, Princess Janae also had a report on a major military engagement in the Middle East. It is not that uncommon for such things to occur, but her report did closely match what happened in both Syria and Yemen during the month of June, and both of these events were important news stories for the month. Now, the last 2 stories for June were more problematic for us. Melina Hall's second story for the month involved a violent occurrence that happened at a beach setting. The trouble with this report is that such events are not always reported in the major news, and it could have happened anywhere in the world. And it was difficult for us to identify an exact match based on the report, so that report will remain ambiguous. Finally, Rock Archie, our newest Time Cross News remote viewer, reported on what appears to be a continuation of the volcanic events occurring in Hawaii. He had some other perceptions mixed in with his report that seemed different from the volcano element, so we had a tough time making a match with a specific news story. So that story will also remain ambiguous. Again, the big hits for the month were the failed rocket launch in Japan and the presidential assassination attempt in Zimbabwe. Now, if you look at the totality of our Time Cross project since its beginning in May 2018, it has been a remarkable achievement with a stunning success rate in terms of predicting the major news events for each month. But now, it is time for a change. So, on to the new series, Backstory. As you know, Presidents Trump and Putin of the United States and Russia held a joint news conference on the 17th of July following a private meeting in which only the 2 presidents and translators were present. It has been wildly speculated on what happened at that meeting and what the relationship between President Trump and President Putin actually is. Well, Princess Janae and Melina Hall both did remote viewing sessions on that meeting, all under totally blind conditions, such that they did not know anything about the target when they did their work. And they used a specialized Farsight procedure that is designed to obtain a form of psychological evaluation of the participants in the meeting with respect to how the participants are relating to one another. Now, we start with the report by Princess Janae and then move on to the report by Melina Hall. In both of these sessions, Subject A is Donald Trump and Subject B is Vladimir Putin. The viewers do not know this when they are doing their sessions, of course.
Three, 8, 4, 6, 8, 5, 1, 5. My basic gestalts here are land and structures. I'm moving out to the center of the target. I have a tall building. Moving inside, I find a meeting of some sort where talking is going on. I'm in a room now with only a few subjects. They seem to be sitting around a circular thing. It may be a table, it could be a rug, but they are talking, and I sense two of the subjects are the focus of attention here. I'm going to call them subject A and subject B. Starting with subject A, he is male. He has light skin, dark clothing. I see him standing. He's an older man, and he's talking. He's talking a lot. He has very feisty energy, and he's very, very adamant. He wants something, and he's seemingly important, it feels like. He has a bit of an attitude here or personality defect of some sort, and he feels a little off mentally. I'm going to move to subject B. Moving to subject B, he's a man. He has on business attire of some sort, seems to be bald or thinning hair. He's a lot thinner than subject A. Subject A was a little more full, a little stockier. Going into his mind, on some level, there's a bit of a blockage. So I'm going to get around that using a specialized procedure that use distinct entry points here of personality profile that Farsight uses. So I'm going to start off with leverage here, and yes, with subject A, this subject either feels he has leverage over subject B or the reverse, but the feeling of leverage in this interaction is very clear. As far as yield, no, this subject does not yield to anyone. He's a very, very stubborn person. I'm going to see if he has some type of a push. And this person is very pushy in his interactions. Subject A possibly with everyone, but also with subject B. He seems to be a bit of an aggressor. This subject has a very aggressive personality. I'm going to check and see if there's any fear in him. And yes, this subject does feel fear, and he does respond to fear. Checking for submissive traits. This subject typically does not have a submissive personality at all. Now, as far as dominance, yes, this subject likes to be dominant, but the subject is also very arrogant in this respect. He's a very arrogant being. A level of friendship. There is no sense of friendship in subject A's mind with subject B. No sense of true friendship within the personality of this subject. He seems a bit manipulative, like a fake or a two-faced friend. Like he's acting like trying to persuade him of something, tell him what he wants to hear, even though that's not truly what's going on internally. A sense of equality. No, not at all. This subject does not see subject B or any other subjects as equal to him. He feels he's superior to or over or more powerful than subject B. Subject B has something that subject A wants, and he wants it now, like right now, and I can feel that energy, like he's really trying to get what he wants from subject B. I'm going to move and look at the psychological personality of subject B now. And as far as leverage, yes, this subject either feels he has leverage over subject A, or he's feeling leverage from subject A. Going on to yield in this perspective, yes, this subject can yield to subject A or others if it's needed. I do sense a teeter on that push. This subject is not too pushy, but he has some push in him. He can push others when needed, but that's not his initial reaction to anything. It only comes out when necessary. I sense that in him. As an aggressor, no, this subject feels quite peaceful or more peaceful. He has no warlike flavor to his personality. As far as fear, this subject has no sense of fear in him. He's very confident. At this meeting, he's very confident. And he's not letting anything faze him. Submissiveness, when necessary, this subject can be submissive. It is not a dominant trait, but it is possible when needed. He's not being submissive in this state. It does only happen under certain circumstances. He doesn't feel the need to be submissive where he is right now. As far as dominance, yes, I do sense a lot of dominance in this subject. He's normally dominant in interactions. I would say that he comes across as assertive, yet with a peaceful dominance. Like he's the opposite of subject A. They're two completely different minds. He's more stable in the head. Friendship, yes, he's walking into this interaction with subject A with a sense that the person is capable of being a friend and a true friend in a way that would describe like a business friendship. So that he has a respect because that's just naturally who he is. As far as equality, yes, this subject subject B does see himself as equal to others and equal to subject A. There's no sense of belittling and no sense of hate. Subject B interacting with subject A can definitely sense his demeanor, and he's responding accordingly with respect.
Today I'll be exploring target 45210233. So I'm getting level topography, a flat land. I'm getting man-made area environment, structures here. I'm getting subjects. I'm also getting vehicles, long, luxury, nice vehicles. So I'm getting a lot of subjects. Seems to be some type of event or somewhat a lot of people are here. Subjects in uniform, subjects in work clothes and casual business attire. A lot of people are coming or entering this whole large building, large whitish, brownish building made out of concrete, steel. Seems so political here. And it's in a city-like environment. So There's a lot of man-made smells, a lot of exhaust from the cars, a lot of noises, loud talking, shouting, a lot of kinetic energy movement from vehicles around this area and subjects walking, lots of activity. Everybody's entering this big, wide, man-made structure. The structure feels like it was made a long time ago, so this is a very unique structure, and let's look forward to this whole event. So back to focusing on the subjects. I have 2 target subjects. These subjects are very important. These are the center subjects. So I have 2 subjects. Both are male. So I have subject A and subject B. Both subjects seems older. Subject A seems more heavier. So I have subject A here, and here's subject B. Both subjects are definitely wearing business attire clothes. So subject A and subject B. Subject A is more heavier, the other subject is more lighter. Both are wearing formal clothing, suit and tie, whatever, business attire. So here's my list of words I will be describing with both subject A and also subject B. So let's get started. Let's probe for leverage. And here we are describing subject A right now. This is what's going on. So we are going to describe subject A. Subject A on leverage, he is level in a certain way. He wants to push things in his own way and also without permission or sometimes with permission. So yes, he's kind of level in a way. Let's move down to yield. On subject A. Yes, he is. Let's see about push. Yes, of course. Aggressor. Yes, he is very aggressive and very hard-headed. So yes. Let's see about fear. No fear in him at all. Let's go to submissive. Yes and no. Yes and no. He kind of do things in his own way, and also you'll never know his next move. So his submitting himself is very quiet on his own time. So you'll never expect what decision he'll make. Let's see about him being dominance. Yes, he is very dominant. Let's look at this friendship. No, he's not a friendly person. And now equality. Yes, they're in the same position for being equal on the same level of leadership. So this is all that describes subject A. Now let's move towards subject B and let's probe to see if he is way different or the same as subject A. So, subject B. His leverage is mostly a very winning type of leverage. Like, he always have a great move and always end up getting his way on things. So his level is very high. Yeah, he does complain a lot, so it's kind of winds it down, but definitely has a winning spirit on his own. Let's go to yield. No on a yield. Moving down to push. Yes, he's very pushy. He makes others think about the decision he make. He just give people something to question. Like, people question him a lot, but he know how to push people, and he also know how to push his enemies. So definitely a pushy person and a questionable person as well. He's a mystery. Okay, aggressor. He's not aggressive. I'll say majority, he's kind of cocky, like he's very forced with his and blunt when he speaks, so it kind of have like an aggressive in him, but it's not high. Like subject A, fear. It's a slight fear, but no, he has a lot of confidence, so fear is not in the way. Submissive. He submits on his own terms, so he does what he wants to do on his own time. Dominance. People like this guy, so I'll say yes, he's very dominant over the other guy, but they're kind of even out. Friendship. With others, yes, but between subject A and B, it's kind of like a trust thing, so I couldn't say they both are friendly people to each other, but they can have a friendship. Inequality. Yes, there is equality between them both. So pretty much a lot of difference between them personality-wise. And mindset is kind of the same, but they're going two different routes, and people are either liking this guy or that guy. And for subject A, like I said, he's very manipulative, and it's very hard to trust subject A. As far as subject B, he's definitely a pusher, definitely has a high confidence level, and he is friendly in an authentic way. There is a big difference between these two subjects, and not just by looks and just by, like I said, the approach level of them. And this is all I have for this target, 45210233.
Okay, so let me make some comments here. These reports are interesting in their own right as standalone observations. Again, they were done under totally blind conditions where the remote viewers did not know anything about the target, which was the presidential meeting when they did their sessions. Also, it is important to understand that the psychological evaluations for each presidential participant is an interpretation that the remote viewers make once perceiving the minds of the participants. There is no such thing as an objective evaluation in this respect. So these two reports are how Princess and Melina respond to these two presidential personalities. But given the blind nature of how the reports were obtained, the reports really are interesting, to say the least. Now let's move on to our mini mysteries, the Dyatlov Pass incident. Now that event is one of the most puzzling of any such mystery ever. This is what we know from the physical evidence. There were 9 trekkers who were from the Ural Polytechnical Institute, 2 women and 7 men. They were traveling during the first few days of February in 1959 in a snowy mountainous area in the northern Urals. It was an adventure trek. They camped at night, and something totally mysterious caused them to quickly cut their way out of their tents and run for their lives. They apparently had trouble getting back to their tents, and after that, they all died, mostly of hypothermia, it seems. Now, 3 of the trekkers also showed sign of physical trauma, although it is not known if this was the result of the event that caused their death or some kind of attack, perhaps by animals, that occurred after their death. The other 6 trekkers showed no signs of physical trauma, although they were all inadequately dressed for the sub-zero temperatures, and their tents were destroyed from the inside. Now, according to a Wikipedia description of the event, here are the summary points that were reported in the news. Now, 6 of the group members died of hypothermia and 3 of fatal injuries. There were no indications of other people nearby apart from the 9 travelers. The tent had been ripped open from within. The victims died 6 to 8 hours after their last meal. Traces of the camp showed that all group members left the campsite of their own accord and on foot. Now, to dispel the theory of an attack by the indigenous Mansi people, Dr. Boris Vozrozdeny stated that the fatal injuries of the 3 bodies with traumatic injuries could not have been caused by another human being because the force of the blows had been too strong and no soft tissue had been damaged. Released documents contained no information about the condition of the skiers' internal organs, and there were no survivors of the incident. Finally, the force required to cause such damage to their bodies would have been extremely high, comparing it to the force of a car crash. Notably, the bodies had no external wounds related to bone fractures, as if they had been subjected to a high level of pressure. So, now let's see what our remote viewers found out. Folks, watch this sitting down.
One, 4, 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 2. My basic thoughts here are land and subjects. Have a very natural environment here, very irregular topography going on here, a lot of natural smells. This place is very, very cold. It's freezing cold. The ground is cold. There are subjects on the base surface. They all have pale skin, heavily dressed. They are physically cold. They're wearing gloves, bulky coats, dark bottoms. They seem to be on some kind of mission here. The people are not from this place. I'm going to move in time 5 days into the future to see what's going on there. I see the subjects, but I'm going into their minds, and I don't feel anything. Everything is very still. It seems like they're dead. So I'm going to go back in time to when they were active. I see some sort of pointy structure. It's shaped like a tent. I'm hearing the walls are very thin. So it feels like a tent to me. A large tent where they're living. Why are you camping in the cold? The walls are very thin. I can hear blowing, whistling wind sounds, and again, it's very, very cold. All along, I've been seeing or sensing a machine of some type. It's in the air, and it has a pointed tip. It seems to be going in a diagonal movement. There's some energetics coming from it, but it's not fire, even though it has a hot or burning effect. I'm going to move to the target event. So with this machine, I'm not exactly sure what it is. There is no explosion, but there is movement in the air or the sky. The subjects, they feel totally confused. There is some there's something not natural in the air, like gas or maybe acid. I can't really tell what it is. Whatever it is, it's going on, and it's very weird. It's very weird. This doesn't make sense, and this is partially beyond my perceptual capacity here. There's a mist in the air or in the sky, and the people just die. There's no blood, no animals that could have killed them. There are no bites. I don't sense or feel any bites. I can't tell if I feel a pain or anything. They are just laying there, dead. I'm going to move to the origin of the object or machine and follow it. I'm just going to kind of follow it back to where it came from here. There's a building or structure, very tall. It's a very large place. This feels like a military base, maybe. It feels like a project that went wrong, or a practice, like a project for a practice something. It wasn't the actual whatever it's supposed to be going on. It feels like it was for practice, this machine. There are things there that look sort of like metal windmills with radiating spokes. If it wasn't for the trees, I'd feel like this place it has a desert-like environment feeling to me. This target gives me the feeling of a launch malfunction. It's like the machine didn't go where it was supposed to go. The whole thing feels like it's tied to the government, and maybe they didn't know that people were at that location or something, but it doesn't feel like it was meant to kill those people. Again, this is beyond my perceptual capacity. It's very odd. It's very different. It's very, very different than anything I've ever experienced in any situation or any perception or even in life. It just seems like a launch malfunction, and whatever the government or whoever these people are, whatever they were doing, maybe they thought it was an empty location. Nobody should be there. I still don't know why these people are there in the cold, camping out. Makes no sense to me, but this is what I have.
Hi, my name is Aziz, and now we will be looking at target 19632037. Alright, so here we have an angular structure, sort of half tube shaped, maybe almost like a pill shaped object, and it seems to be fraying and peeling back as a result of this explosive energy that is emanating off the backside. Almost like, because there's a lot within this explosive force that's shooting a lot of energy outwards, it seems like there's also this hefty amount of jagged man-made metallic material. So it seems like maybe half or more of this structure was blown off as, or is in the process of being blown off as this object sort of sits here. Looking further. Another element of the target has this heavily clothed subject being affected by this blast. Within here, it seems like there's these corridors, chambers, almost like this structure was a large vehicle, or it has these tight chambers inside of it, though. like some parts, yes, they have different types of materials, like lighter, fluffy materials. Here seems like just looks like a corridor-ish type of area, like a hallway, mini hallway. This subject with full headgear, it seems like the material is really coarse and rough, is being flung this direction away from this explosive blast. Looking further through time now. A little unsure. It seems like there is this structure or small set of structural looking things and an object or another structure that is moving in this direction, or some sort of man-made thing that moves from here over here. This is looking 24 hours into the past now. Seems relatively dark. It's nighttime. Everything seems like it's in nighttime. And some sort of man-made object moves over here where there might be some other, maybe some man-made things, or maybe this is just part of the same thing. Looking into the future now. Relatively peaceful at that point. Almost like it's a snowy, dark night. It's cold temperatures. It's interesting. 24 hours into the future. All right, so looking here at T1, it seems like there's just a structure, man-made sort of structural objects, and it seems like something shoots at it, or it seems like there's some sort of movement involved. Maybe it's just these pieces just sort of flying out, or it seems like something's coming in over here, and then this fire sort of shoots out there, and it blazes up for a while. And this is how we're going a little bit. This is a little bit before T2. This is a little bit during, a little bit after T2, and the fire just seems to be blazing out of control. T3, it seems like it's just this smoldering wreckage of man-made material. So that seems like that's what is occurring in target 19632037.
Today I will be exploring target 52447877. It appears I'm getting a natural environment. Irregular topography. Very chilly and cold. I'm seeing peaks. Very cold. It's very, very cold. I'm also getting like man-made material, very small, small structure like below. Very below down ground, and I'm also getting subjects here. So I have a mountainous environment. It's very cold, a lot of snow and ice, trees here. It's very windy, and there's also subjects here, and it seems to be in the very far and mountainous place, a lot of mountains, a lot of snow. Doesn't seem near a city, very distant. And so here I will be focused more on the subjects here, and let's go into the subjects. Now focusing on the target subjects, There seems to be like a group of subjects, mostly men, heavy clothing, like it's very cold here, so they're wearing a lot of comfortable clothing for the environment since it's very, very cold. Their clothes are heavy. They have headwear on, neckwear, whole body is fully is covered. The subject, skin complexion, pale, whitish, light red undertones. They have dark hair, dark black hair, and a few have like a sandy brown hair. And there seem to be somewhat travelers. They don't seem quite dangerous, and they actually are speechless and doesn't speak English. They speak another language. They speak a different language, and they seems pretty harmless. They seem pretty different people. Doesn't seem very vicious or anything. They're just travelers. People are just traveling the world or quite this whole mountainous area. And this feels like a group. I'll say not too many, but a good group to go on adventures with. Now let's look around, because it seems to be a feel of fear. I'm feeling fear around this area, approaching this area where they have their whole man-made built environment. Seems to be man-made, seems to be hands-made, like hand-man-made, as in like it's not brick-made or wood. It seems to be fabric or some type of cloth material. They made this sort of hideout or tent. So let's look around and find that fear in these subjects in this area. So I'm getting a group of subjects, and the focus gathering seems to be something that just happened. So the subjects are noticing weird noises and a weird feeling of a movement, like some type of wind or some source of movement around their area. Like again, it is windy and chilly, but this movement and this energy feels very quite different, and it seems to be coming from above. The subjects are all looking at the sky. It is late and it's also dark. So it's getting dark here, and a lot of things are quite different at night, but something unexpected happened. Subjects seem to see some sort of light, and they're all pointing at the sky. So let's look above and see what's going on. Shroom. So I'm getting this this type of fuse, some type of fuse. Some fuse felt like lightning or whatnot. I'm getting a fuse. So the fuse had like some sort of blue light, a bluish light around this area. It's very different. It's never before seen type of light. It happened so fast. It felt like a shooting star, but it just, you can hear it, and it seems like it's going towards Earth more, and it just seemed to caused a lot of snowfall, like a collapse of piles of snow just land around the area these subjects are in, and it gets colder. So this fuse and energy really caused a collapse, like a thick snow to collapse around their whole hideout or whole shelter. Let's look more into this fuse, this energetic, this light. So now, as I go in more focus on the subjects and also the energy that came from above, it appears to be some type of natural or man-made light that came out of the sky, and it just kept coming down. It felt like a light show almost, because it had noises and it was just fuses. Like it was just one powerful fuse that approached right down below, and the way it landed, everything just got colder and also darker. They had a fire here. Everything just been buried from snow, like everything, the whole snow, everything just went completely dark. Subjects are highly scared, and it's just seems so fast and unexpected. And also the subjects, they're kind of in mode to attack. They're in attacker mode. They feel like it's a threat. They don't understand what caused this to happen or where did it come from. So right now their fear is at a high level. So here I have a better close-up of how the light was. Like I said, it was like a bluish type of feel, and the shape kind of feel like some type of teardrop form, but it's going straight towards the ground. Like I said, it caused everything to be more darker, the area more colder. This light is very peculiar and very strong and powerful, and it went straight down very fast like a shooting star, and it did cause a lot of snow to collapse. So heavy snow collapse. So it's like nothing is living at this moment. Just this bright light that just fused right into the snow. So now moving back 3 days before this whole light appeared, these subjects were just really traveling on flat land. And also they were traveling by foot, so the subjects were clearly just having a very adventurous feel. Then 3 days later, from the situation of the suspicious light that came from above, the subjects doesn't seem to be alive from that whole drop of light. I'm not feeling any survivors here, and everything's so cold and quiet and appears to be death. So not necessarily they froze to death, but they definitely died from this fuse, this unexpected fuse, this light, this power.
Okay. It seems as if something exploded above the campers that freaked the heck out of them. The explosions may have created some foul air, which one of our reviewers picked up. The explosions created an enormous amount of light and sound, and it is possible that this may have been something that blinded the trekkers. The trekkers felt it necessary to try to run for their lives, cutting their way out of their own tents for speed, and then running with inadequate clothing, even barefoot. Now, there are many theories regarding what could have happened to the trekkers in the Dyatlov Pass incident, from attacks by Yetis, UFOs, and aliens to everything you can imagine. But one particular theory holds up well with our data. Again, nicely summarized by Wikipedia, some people believe it was a military accident which was then covered up. There are records of parachute mines being tested by the Russian military in the area around the time the hikers were there. Now, parachute mines detonate a meter or two before they hit the ground, and they produce similar damage to those experienced by the hikers. Heavy internal damage with very little external trauma. There were also glowing orbs reported in the sky in that general vicinity. This theory indeed exactly matches what our viewers perceived for this event. And in my view, this is what I think happened back in 1959 in the Ural Mountains. Well, that's it for this month's edition of Time Cross. Thank you so much for watching. Also, I hope you get a chance to watch our recent Mysteries project, Moses Beyond Exodus, one of our most amazing projects ever. And please remember to watch some of our other Mysteries projects, such as The War in Heaven, and also Tunguska Complexity, Remote Viewing Area 51, the Roswell UFO crash, the investigations into the 9/11 events, the assassinations of John F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King, the psychology of Adolf Hitler, and some amazing explorations into UFOs and extraterrestrial life. As always, all Farsight remote viewing work is done by highly trained remote viewers working solo under totally blind conditions with no communication between any of the remote viewers. So Farsight projects are nothing short of amazing, and there is nothing like it anywhere else. And remember that when you watch our Mysteries projects, you are helping us at Farsight do our work, including the funding for our Time Cross project, which we offer free to the public, but which does cost us a few $1,000s to do each month. We have no other significant sources of income to pay the bills. So you really help when you follow and watch our activities and research. Without you watching our projects, we would not exist. Finally, please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Farsight Press, to keep up with the latest. You can find information about all of our present and past activities on our website. Also on our website, please sign up for our free email newsletter, where we announce all of our major projects. The email newsletter is actually one of the best ways to keep up with all of our activities. Stay ahead of the curve. Let the mainstream fade in the dust. Be there now.